Good morning. The worship is going to begin. We have a few announcements today. At 12:30, right here today, is the opening art gallery reception for artist UUFH Aoyami, also known as Shei. Come meet the artists and enjoy their beautiful work. Our 8th annual Pumpkin Patch kicks off at the American Legion Hall in just 2 short weeks. This is a wonderful opportunity to build community in and outside our walls. We hope you'll sign up for a few shifts. Please, the sign-up sheets will be in the social hall after service. Please check that out. Upcoming events quickly include 3 beginning knitting lessons, which start today after service. See Terry Donaldson or Sherry Lauer-Bader for more details. The Labyrinth Walk tomorrow night at 7, and Wednesday, September 18th at 6:15 p.m. Our Care for the Caregivers meets here. You can get all the details for these events and others in this week's flash and on our website. If you don't get our weekly newsletter every Thursday, you can sign up on our homepage at UUFH.org. Good morning. I'm Karen Mazzata, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm today's worship associate. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Huntington. If you are, hello to those watching on Zoom and later on YouTube. I'd like to extend a special welcome today to newcomers who are new to our congregation and want to speak with someone. Please visit our membership table in the social hall or speak to one of the greeters on the way in. Remember that know that whoever you are, whomever you love, and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. That's you. Okay, sorry.
Come, enter into this place made holy by our presence. Enter into this hour made holy by our intention. Enter in that we may be company for one another though our individual paths may differ, we need not travel alone. Enter in and let us worship together.
This morning, Luke will light our chalice. Is Luke here? Hey, Luke. The flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We kindle the flame of our faith in the cup of our covenant as we enter into worship together. Our own fires join together to kindle the flame. May it be a beacon for us as we journey together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our first hymn this morning, 389, Gather Here. invite you to join in singing our affirmation. The words will be on the screen. Now you're invited to light a candle for something deep in your heart. Peggy will help us today. Please join in the front. She will have a basket for cards for joys and concerns if you'd like to share them with the congregation. Come on up, Meg, right here. As the music plays, I invite you to come forward to go to the candles in the front and the back, or the back. Thank you.
There we go. It works better when you turn it on. Will you join me in prayer, however you understand prayer to be? Remember, we think about prayer. Some of us pray to a being that we envision. Some of us pray to something beyond ourselves. Some of us send good thoughts out to the universe. And some of us merely speak these things so that we hear them better ourselves. However you understand prayer, will you join me now? Today we lift up especially Milt Mazur's brother, who is being treated for acute leukemia. And we have many candles lit today for those prayers that remain in the silence of our hearts, and for those that have been spoken and shared today. Spirit of life and love, help us to hear those prayers, help us to act on those prayers. Help us to comfort one another when we need comfort, to be strong for one another when we need strength, to be joyful with one another, for all of us can do with a little more joy in our lives, and help us to build a beloved community together. Amen. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart, all stirrings of passion. Rise in the sea. Beloveds, this is a story that comes from Worship Web, which is a Unitarian Universalist Association worship resource. And this is Hide and Seek with God. It's a story by Marianne Moore. Once upon a time, God said, I'm bored because I don't have anything to do. I want to play with my friends. And because God is God, as soon as the words were spoken, God's friends were there. When God saw them all gathered, God said, I've been bored because I haven't had anything to do. Let's play something. Good idea, said God's friends. What shall we play? And God thought for a minute and then said, I know. Let's play hide and seek. The friends all said, yay! Because they knew that hide and seek with God was always exciting and different, because God was the one who hid, and God always thought of wonderful places to hide. Excuse me. God's friends closed their eyes tight and counted to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And when they opened their eyes, God wasn't there anymore. So they all went off to look for God. One friend decided to look close on the earth and soon came to a meadow. And as he was searching, he stopped to admire the tender new sprouts of green grass pushing their way up to the sun. And as he bent over to look more closely at the tender green, he realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. So he jumped up and ran back to home base calling out, I found God! God is green and growing. I found God in the grass. Another one of God's friends decided to look for God in the night. She watched the sun go down and heard the workaday noises stop and saw the lights in the houses go off. As it got darker and the peaceful night wrapped itself around her, she listened very hard, and then she realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about that. And when it was so still that she could see and hear nothing at all, she suddenly jumped up and ran to home base and said, I found God. God is dark and peaceful. I found God in the night. A third friend looked on the earth and felt the mystery of the grass growing toward the sun. They stayed and watched the night come on, and they felt the mystery of the darkness and the stars. They thought to themselves, these mysteries are special and amazing and wonderful. But when they finally came back to home base, they said, I found wonderful mysteries. I'm not sure I want to call them God. Now, a fourth friend decided to look for God where the people were. They joined a group of people going home from work and went with them into the store where they bought food, and they went back out on the street as they started for their homes. They were with them when someone came up and said, please, I'm very hungry. Could you share a little food with me? The people readily agreed, and as the friend watched them share, they realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about those people. They turned around and ran to home base and calling out, I found God. God is love and sharing. I found God in people who care for others. Finally, two more of God's friends decided to look for God together. After a time, they came to a house and decided to look for God in the house. In the house, they saw a room, and they looked for God in the room. In the room, they saw a mirror. And they looked for God in the mirror. As they looked into the mirror, they realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful being reflected back. They turned around and ran to home base calling out, we found God. We found God in us. At this, God appeared again and said, I had so much fun. Weren't those good hiding places? Some of you found me, others weren't sure. And others are still looking. That's okay, because the most important thing is just to play the game. Let's do it again. I'm sure I can think of some other really good hiding places. And they called out, ollie, ollie, oxen, free, 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 and the game started all over again. Beloveds, are you playing hide and seek with God? We'll have a chance to think about that today. I invite you to join in singing our special benediction as the teachers and learners head to their classes, and the words are on the screen. And I know today is the first day of religious education for this year, yes? So a special blessing upon all of you going to class.
A reading can be found in the hymnal number 563, A Person Will Worship Something, attributed to Unitarian minister and writer Ralph Waldo Emerson. A person will worship something, have no doubt about that. We may think our tribute is paid in secret in the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship. For what we are worshiping, we are becoming. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing 193, Our Faith is But a Single Gem.
Beloveds, have you heard that the well-known Universalist theologian, Pope Francis, recently said, like last week, that all religions, all faiths are a path to God? He's very theistic because he's the Pope, but all religions are valid and a path to God. Everything gets us there, right? That's something we Unitarian Universalists have known for a long time, right? We are a fiercely covenantal and non-creedal faith. You could be covenantal and creedal, but we're covenantal and not creedal. What does that mean? Well, we have a covenant together. We have a congregational covenant. We have a Unitarian Universalist Association covenant. We just changed the language of that to reflect who we are more deeply. And what's at the center of that covenant? I almost heard that. What's at the center of that covenant? Love. Yes, love is at the center of all we do. And then we have petals all around that talk about our values. But what they don't say is, here is your statement of faith that you must believe. First of all, we can never tell people what they must believe, right? That doesn't work. Belief is a very private and individual thing. But there's no statement of faith. We have a very broad theological umbrella, do we not? Now, historically, Unitarians and Universalists were two Christian churches. The Unitarians rejected the divinity of Christ, but believed in following Jesus. That's why they were Unitarian, not Trinitarian. The Universalists were Trinitarian. They were talking about universal salvation, that God's love is so overwhelming and so powerful that no one will ultimately be able to resist it. We will all be completely reconciled with God in the end. And some people still have those very specific theologies that they hang on to, but when we merged in 1961, we opened ourselves up to a whole bunch of other theologies. Now, how many of you know about the Humanist Manifesto? I see a few hands. Okay, so the first Humanist Manifesto, I think we're on version 3 now, I want to say. maybe 4, 3. The first Humanist Manifesto was in 1933, and it was signed on to by a number of people, including quite a lot of Unitarian ministers and well-known Unitarians, also several rabbis, people from many faith traditions. Gesundheit, and it's a humanist manifesto, but these humanists were particularly tended to be atheist. And so when we merged in 1961, we wanted to make sure we were welcoming all of these folks. So we still had these Christian traditions, but we now were acknowledging and celebrating all of these humanists among us. And it's just grown and grown since then, because we have many different taproots, many different beliefs, but we share these values and we go on this spiritual journey together. Now, the Reverend Kimberly Debus, who maybe, do any of you follow her blog? Some of you follow her, and she's a consultant. She has an entrepreneurial ministry. She does a lot of consulting with congregations. She did a project several years ago called A Hymn a Day. She did it where she started with the gray hymnal and sang one hymn every day and finished the hymnal, and then went on to the teal hymnal, and she would comment on this. She blogged about it. And in picking hymns for today and going back to see what she had said about some of these hymns, and some hymns that I didn't end up choosing, we'll do those another time. She said something in one of these hymns about, why do we Unitarian Universalists, why do we feel like we have to constantly get into a theist versus atheist debate as if we're not all together, and if that's the real issue, when there are so many real things that we could be working on out in the world, right? But have you ever experienced one of those debates? No, we don't, you can't do that here, or of course we can do that here, and why would you believe that? That's not us at our best. Right? We have a really broad theological umbrella, and if we really mean that, and we welcome people who want to live by our covenant with us, want to journey with us, then we have to accept, not just accept, but celebrate and help people along that journey in all those ways. Well, what does that mean for worship for us? Because, you know, it's not like we're a Presbyterian church where I just go to the lectionary every Sunday and say, well, here are the 4 Bible readings, and I'll just pick which one of these 4 I'm preaching on today, and here's our book of worship, and these are the prayers we have to do. I mean, that might be easier, but it certainly wouldn't speak to everyone here, would it? So when we do worship, and we do worship for all of these different belief systems that we have, how do we do this authentically? How do we reach all of these people and at the same time stay together? Well, a spoiler alert here. It means that sometimes we have to be willing to be uncomfortable or have moments in the service that really don't speak to us because we know that they're speaking to our neighbor, right? When I did my internship, it was a requirement both for the Unitarian Universalist Association and for my seminary. And so I had to write these reflections and send them off to my professor. And I said in one reflection, well, you know, this church, it isn't perfect, my internship congregation. It's not absolutely perfect. There are things I would change. And that means that it's probably the perfect place for me to be right now. And he said, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I was kind of proud of having that insight in there. So I would like us to take some time, and we're going to move around. Now, you at home, if you're playing the home game, you can play too. If you're watching this live on Zoom right now, you can put in the comments what your core theology is. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move around the room, and I know that if you have some mobility issues, if that's, you can raise your hand at that point. But I'd really like, if you're able to get up and move around, to go to the place where I'm going to point out, because we're going to do a visual thing here. Now, we draw from many sources, right? You can be Buddhist and find something to draw from in the Quran, right? And you can be an atheist and find a Bible story that has wisdom in it, right? So I'm not asking you what all the things you draw from. I'm asking you what's at your core? What is your taproot? And if it changes, what's at your core today? And for the purposes of this game, you don't get to say, I'm agnostic, because agnostic is about the strength of your belief. Most of us are agnostic to some degree or another. There are very few people who are absolutely certain, no, that's it, I know everything. If you know everything, let's talk later, because I have lots of questions. So most of us have some measure of agnosticism. So for the purposes of this, you're going to have to decide what you're agnostic about. Oh, okay. So, you ready to get up and move? Okay. And if I say something, and then I say something else later, and you think, oh, no, that's really me, you can move. It's okay. So if you are an atheist, would you come over here by under the screen, if you're an atheist? Atheist is, this is all there is. What we have here and now, this is it. Okay. So yeah, we have a big chunk of atheists here. Now, if you're a humanist, if your core value is humanism, would you come and stand next to the atheists over here? Humanists might be atheists, might not. See, now some of the atheists are going, no, I'm really a humanist, right? Uh-huh. If you're a humanist, stand over there. Humanism. Okay, so let me do most of the talking, because the folks at home on Zoom aren't going to be able to hear what I'm saying if you're talking. So humanism is about believing that we put human needs and human concerns first. All right. So we got a lot of humanists here. Okay, we're already bending around the room. If you're a mystic, would you go in front of the windows there? What are mystics? Mystics are folks who are, I'm not really sure what's out there. There's something out there, something beyond ourselves. That's me. Would you go over there? You're going to find out. That's a really big chunk. Okay, again, I'm going to do the, because let's be kind to the folks on Zoom. If you're talking, they're going to have a hard time hearing me. So look at the big chunk of mystics. Would you be surprised to know that the majority of Unitarian Universalists end up in that category? Okay. If you're a Wiccan or a pagan, would you go into the corner by the fire extinguisher, next to in other words, keep it going around this. So let's get our Wiccans and pagans over there. And we do have a few, look. We have a few. There we go, look at that. See, people move, it's good. Now, Wiccans and pagans, when we get to some of the pagan holidays, like the big ones, I'm going to need your help because I'm not an expert in this, and in order to be authentic, right, I need people who know what they're talking about. If you have an earth-centered belief, not specifically pagan or Wiccan, but you're earth-centered, next to the pagans. There we go. See? I'm telling you, people move all the time. No, that's really me. That's me. I get it. So here we go. If what's at your core is one of the dharmic faiths, dharma being the way of the rules of the world, the ways of the world, so Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, the dharmic faiths are next. And I'm just going to ask among the dharmic folks, and see, I'm asking you to out yourself now. Do we have any folks who are true practices, who've taken the Buddhist precepts? Raise your hand if you. We have. Oh, okay, cool. Like that's seriously deeply at the core, right? If you have a Taoist belief, going with the flow, beloved, I don't want to be the one to break it to you, but I will. If you think your religion is Jedi, that's Taoism. So if you're a go-with-the-flow kind of person, no Taoist. Okay. One. Okay. Yeah. Now, if you're a deist, this is different from theist. If you're a deist, you believe in the clockmaker God, the God who created things and then let it go. Would you come next? That's a lot of the 18th century Unitarians, right? Very much into reason, and so a lot of them, but we don't have so much of those anymore. If you're a theist, you believe in God, come over here. Jews, Christians, Muslims. So let's do it in order of when the Jews, Christians, Muslims. Right? Because that's the order in which the religions appeared. So we do have some theists. And any generic theists, like I believe in God, but I don't know what I believe about God. You can come over here too. And we have a few people left sitting. So I'm going to ask the folks who are sitting, what's your, you can shout it out to me if you know what you. Oh, these, okay, yeah, that is like, I'm waiting to hear all the options is like the most Unitarian Universalist thing ever. Those are all the options today. Do you have something else, though, that you wanted to add to the options?
No, I know where I'm going so far.
Okay, that's it. So where are you going? Okay. And we have two more. What? Any other beliefs that we have out there? Okay. Do you want to? You can just say, and we will put you virtually if you'd rather. Oh, okay. So we're okay. So just take a look now. If you're at home, I don't know that we're getting this whole room on the screen. In fact, I know we're not getting the whole room on the screen. But I want you to look around the whole room. Because for those of you watching this online, I want you to understand that this extends completely around the room. We have people filling every one of these beliefs. Sometimes just one or two people, sometimes a whole bunch of people, but we hold all of this in our theological umbrella. Is this amazing? Look at that. Please, thank you for doing that, and return to your seats. And I hope if you're watching online, if you're watching on Zoom Live, that you've put in the comments what you are. I know that that's going to roll things for a while, but so, beloveds, was this surprising to you in any way? No, was anybody surprised by? A few people were surprised. Okay. So how do we hold all this in covenant together? How do we celebrate? How do we make sure that our Christians feel loved and wanted and recognized and respected here, while at the same time recognizing that we have a whole bunch of people who do not believe in God at all? How do we lift up and support our Buddhists when most of us don't know what the Eightfold Way is necessarily, and hardly anyone here, and almost no one here has taken the precepts. How do we support those folks? How do we support our Wiccans, whose faith is based so much on worshiping outdoors very often? Well, we don't go to the lowest common denominator. We tried that in Unitarian Universalism. We tried to make sure that we could be everything to everyone. What we ended up being was nothing for everyone, right? Because we can't say that because 2 people here don't believe that, but we can't say this because 3 people there don't believe that, right? No, we don't do that. What we do is we lift up all of it. So we try to celebrate the most important holidays for your neighbors sitting right next to you today. So what does that mean? Well, it means maybe that if Judaism doesn't speak to you, but there's a Passover Seder, maybe you come and help out in the kitchen or with the cleaning up so that the folks who are doing the Seder can really be part of that Seder. Maybe it means singing those Christmas carols with those original lyrics, even though you're saying, I don't believe this, but I'm singing it for my neighbor, because this is at their core. Maybe it means learning from one another, right? Learning about our different faiths, because a really cool thing happens when we do this. Not only are we supporting one another in what we do, but we learn and can draw from it as well. Now, beloveds, I didn't go anywhere on here because I was doing the thing, but I'll tell you that I'm very weird. I don't recommend this for most people. I am both Jewish, not just culturally Jewish, and Christian. I became a Christian in the Unitarian Universalist Church. Is that surprising to anybody? I'm glad it's not surprising. A few people are surprised. I had somebody in my home congregation come up to me once and say, "If you're a Christian, why do you even come here?" Oh, yeah, ooh. Amazingly, that person doesn't attend my home congregation anymore. I come here because this is where I became who I am. So that's what's at my core, and yet, how many of you have ever read the Bhagavad Gita? Parts. Yeah, have anybody read the whole thing? The Bhagavad Gita isn't all that long. The Mahabharata is massive. The Bhagavad Gita is one book in the Mahabharata, which is like the oldest and longest epic poem ever. But it's at the core of Hinduism. And you know what I discovered when I read that? I read it because I co-led a class on it once. I had to learn about it, right? Wow, there's so much wisdom in here. This is not my core, but there's so much here. And when I studied the Quran a little bit, again, I thought, wow, there's so much wisdom here. I have to translate sometimes. There's wisdom, I translate it into my theological language so I can understand. I read poetry, secular poetry even, and it speaks to me because I see God in it. So we use language, we say God, and if you don't believe in God, well, what are you going to do with that? But maybe you think of God as love. There are so many names for the divine, so when you hear God from up here, you can think, oh yeah, that's love. Love at what's at the center of our covenant? Love. Love is at the center. So, oh, that's what's at the center of our covenant. We translate. So sometimes we need those little translation books, right? Just like when we're traveling. But we translate from one another. That makes us better Unitarian Universalists, stronger Unitarian Universalists. And it helps us also deepen our own spiritual journeys. So, beloveds, I am here to support you individually on your spiritual journeys and to support this congregation as we support each other on our spiritual journeys. Whatever path we're on, it is the path for us. Some of us might be on an 8-lane highway, some of us on a Rocky Mountain goat trail. But that is your path. And you have company here to support you on the journey. And whatever our core beliefs, we do it with love at the center so that we may build the beloved community together. Amen? Amen. Remember what amen means? Who remembers? Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah! So, amen? Okay. Beloveds, namaste, which is the divine in me recognizes the divine in you.
Each week we have a collection for our split plate program. That means that undesignated donations are split between the fellowship and our charity of the month, unless you tell us otherwise. This month we're supporting Community Solidarity, America's largest all-vegetarian hunger relief program. Their philosophy is that compassion for people, animals, and the environment goes hand in hand. Every week, Community Solidarity assists thousands of families by sharing free, nutritious vegetarian groceries and hot, gourmet vegan meals. Much of the food is rescued and would otherwise be thrown out as waste. Community Solidarity has a food share every Tuesday night in Huntington Station for free groceries, clothing, and warm meals for anyone in need. The goal is to empower the community and the community members by helping to alleviate the burdens of poverty. Ushers will be passing the baskets while Isabella. Mm-hmm. For those of you at home, you can send a check to the office or donate through the website, Zelle, or PayPal. Thank you for your support of the work we do within and beyond these walls.
Thank you. Do you know offertory is literally, it's the music, it's literally the musical offering. Wasn't that a beautiful musical offering? Okay, I'm going to try not to stand under the mic, the speaker here, so I'm going to ask you to come a little further forward. Will you join me in dedicating the offering? The words are on the screen. To the work of our faith, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action. We dedicate our lives, and these our offerings. Amen. Thank you. invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in our final hymn, number 343, A Fire Mist and a Planet. We're going to listen to that once through as well, because I think this is also not familiar, right?
A fire mist and a planet, a crystal and a
Remain standing, please. Beloveds, go in peace, go in love, go on your path, knowing that while others may not trod the same path, they will still accompany you on your journey and go always in the footsteps of the holy, however we know the holy to be. Amen. And now we extinguish our chalice flame, for our worship has ended and our service begins.